Habit number 1, be proactive. As promised, this is the first habit of the 8 habits of highly effective people applied to software development teams. Reminder, instead of crafting 7 or 8 habits out of whole cloth for software teams, we're applying Stephen Covey's habits and seeing where that takes us. Greetings, I'm Dr. Will, and welcome to Dr. Will's Software Project Leadership Channel, where we focus on building real software to solve real problems. What does it mean to be proactive? According to dictionary.com, the word was coined only about 100 years ago. It means serving to prepare for, intervene in, or control an expected occurrence or situation, especially a negative or challenging one. Anticipatory. If you've already subscribed to the channel, thank you very much. Appreciate that. If you haven't, then subscribe and hit the bell below to be notified when new content becomes available. Also, if you're interested in proactively managing the risk of your project, we'll provide links in the show notes to our risk tools. Covey, writing in the late 80s, said that you wouldn't find the definition of proactive in most dictionaries. Well, that was 35-ish years ago, and business consultants, including Covey, have been throwing the word around a lot since then. Covey says that it's more than just merely taking the initiative. He says that highly proactive people are conscious of the facts that they're responsible for how they act in response to external events. He states that highly proactive people are conscious of the fact that they are responsible for how they act in response to external events. Quote, their behavior is a product of their conscious choice based on values rather than a product of their conditions based on feelings, close quote. There appears to be a strong tie-in to Stoicism, by the way, but that is probably because of the large overlap between Stoicism and Christianity. A key takeaway is that our response to events, the response we consciously choose, is what matters most. Choices carry consequences, and those can be either good or bad. The character of the consequences usually determines whether the choice is deemed a good one or bad one, or mistake. Some consequences are unintended. A proactive person accepts responsibility for all consequences, intended or not. According to the Wikipedia entry for law of unintended consequences, it has come to be used as an adage or an idiomatic warning that an intervention in a complex system tends to create unanticipated and often undesirable outcomes. Akin to Murphy's Law, it is commonly used as a wry or humorous warning against the hubristic belief that humans can fully control the world around them, not to presuppose a belief in predestination or lack or disbelief in that of free will. Complex systems are often chaotic in the mathematical sense, that is, where small differences in initial conditions, such as those due to errors in measurement or rounding errors, can yield widely diverging outcomes for those systems. In general, this makes prediction of long-term behavior impossible. Unforeseen consequences of mistakes, bad choices, are still consequences of the choices. Don't worry though, not choosing is still choosing. Failing to act, when you have the capacity and perhaps the responsibility to act, also carries consequences. Some, perhaps many, unintended. And the beat goes on. Covey focuses on the circles of concern and influence. Circle of concern is everything we care about, over much of which we have neither influence nor control. Active people focus their time, energy, and resources here. The circle of influence are those things we can do something about. This is where a proactive person spends most of their time, energy, and resources. Control is characterized as direct, indirect, and none. Direct control are problems that involve our own behavior. Here we can work on our habits. Indirect are problems now involving other people's behavior, and we can work on our methods of influence in those cases. None are things we can do nothing about. They may be past or situational realities. We have to work on accepting the things we cannot change and therefore the wisdom to know the difference. A software development team lives in a social environment. Depending on the size of the organization, there may be quite complex social environmental issues. Just as for an individual, the relevant questions focus on the team's concerns and what can be influenced or controlled. Things within the team's circle of influence are subject to the team equivalent of developing habits, namely establishing defined processes and procedures, and holding the team accountable to those standards. Things that are within the circle of concern should be monitored for risks to the team and project, but otherwise not absorb too much attention. This is where a team lead or manager needs to spend some time or energy scanning the environment for those risks. The effectiveness of the team manager or leader relieves the team members from having to worry about those things. Being proactive about risk management then gives you something meaningful to do with respect to the circle of concern. Some things, those that are most immediate, need to be monitored so that those things you do influence or control can be responsive when necessary. This channel is dedicated to helping software projects succeed, not just in the short term, but in the long. If you'd like more content like this, then subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to be notified when content becomes available. If you have any questions, put them in a comment below and I'll be happy to answer them at a later date. And remember, if you're interested in proactively managing risks to your project, then we'll provide links in the show notes below to our risk tools. That's it for me, for you for now. Have a great day and a great week ahead. Be careful out there. I'll be seeing you. Bye.